So some bonus material for section 2.2. What I want to practice first is playing around with windows for your graphing calculator and or Desmos, because it can really affect how your graph looks and the information you can get out of it. So let's start by putting that function into our graphing calculator, into the y equals menu. So there it is, x squared plus 8x. Let me clear out all this old stuff here. From there, I want to adjust my window. Now, they've given you, in the problem that you'll see in the text, they've given you 4 different windows, and they want you to try and pick which one's best. So we'll start by plugging in this one. Now, just so you understand, this is always your x min to x max and y min to y max. There's a few more settings on your graphing calculator than that, but we'll go over them in a minute. So I'll start out with -5 to 5. And then you skip over x scale, and then go -5 to 5 here as well. And then you should be ready to hit the graph key. And yeah, that doesn't look like a really good graph. Yeah, question? I'll have to get there in a minute. So yeah, I will get there and show you how to do this on Desmos. But for now, let's practice this on the graphing calculator. That's not really a good graph. I'm not very happy with that one. And if you handed that in to me as your boss or as your instructor, I'd be unhappy. So let's try another one. -10 to 10 on the x-axis and -10 to 10 on the y-axis. There's a quick way to get those settings, and that's if you hit the zoom 6 key. Zoom 6 takes you to zoom standard. And that's just going to go -10 to 10 on both x and y axes. So if you take a look back at the window here, that shows you exactly what we have there. Looking at the graph, it feels like there's something missing from the graph, right? The graph doesn't feel complete. What do you think's missing? The vertex. Yeah, we can't see the vertex. So again, this one doesn't feel that good either. Let's take a look at the next one, -10 to 2 and -20 to 18. So let's make those changes here. So -10, we're good. 2, we're good. And then -20 to 18. And let's look at this one. So with those settings, bam. That looks a lot better, right? But if I want to be really critical, the y-axis looks a little bit busy, right? I'd hate to have to count and figure out, well, where I am at, or even approximately where I'm at. I'd get dizzy. So let's adjust one more thing here, and it's the scale. This tells you how far apart the tick marks are. Now I'm okay on the x-axis, I'll leave that as 1, but on the y-axis, let's choose another number that's a little bit bigger, like 5. So that way every tick mark represents 5 units. And let's take a look there. Oh, that looks a lot better, doesn't it? It's a much cleaner graph. You've got the vertex there. You can see the x-intercepts. It uses the whole space. So looking good there. That's a winner. So let's put a little happy face by this one. That one's good. And just for sake of completeness, let's take a look at the last one, and then I'll go show you how to do it on Desmos as well. So clear this up. For the last one, I want -10 to 10. You know what? I wrote -100 to 100. I meant -10 to 10. 0. And then -100 to 100. Now I probably don't want to leave x or y scale at 5. I'd have like 40 tick marks up and down the y-axis. So let's pick something bigger, like maybe 25 or 20 works. Either one. That way you don't have so many tick marks. And it's not bad, but I don't get the feeling of a parabola because I can't see enough of the left-hand side of this. So it's not great. Now, before I forget, let me go show you how to do this on Desmos. So on Desmos, up here at the tool icon, you can check your settings, and when you click there, one thing I always click is I click the capital A. It just makes it easier to see. But if I want specific settings, then I can set my x-axis to Well, let's see, negative 10 to 2 was a winner for us on our graphing calculator. And then again on the graphing calculator, the winning settings were negative 20 to 18. So there it is on the graphing, or excuse me, there it is on Desmos. And like the graphing calculator, you can do steps instead of scale. So we're okay there. But on the y-axis, let me maybe put in steps of 5. So it gives you more grid lines. You can get rid of some of those if you want to. Get rid of the minor grid lines. Maybe makes it a little cleaner. So hopefully that helps there. Are we looking okay with these graphs here and just adjusting the window? Now there's another thing that you could do with your graphs, and that is you could graph what's called a piecewise function. Now this is kind of a pain in your graphing calculator. It's much more user-friendly in Desmos. So let's go over both. Let's see. Let's start in Desmos, and then we'll move to the graphing calculator, and then I'll ask you which one you like. So for Desmos, or actually for both of those, let's let f of x be this function. Negative 4 for x less than negative 4. X for anything between negative 4 and 4. And finally, 4 for x greater than 4. And I apologize for all the 4s, but it will work out as a nice looking function here. Now open up a page on Desmos and let's type this in. The nice thing about working with Desmos is that it's easy to type this stuff in. So let's take a look. And one more second to copy that down. I see a few people are still writing, so I'll give you a little bit more time there. Okay, got it. Let's go to Desmos. I'm going to go to the link that I sent you. Here's an example of how you type things in for a piecewise function. This is a piecewise, what's called step function. And you can see that the graph of y equals 1 would be everything, except my graph of y equals 1 starts at 5. And then the other part is y equals 0, which is really just the x-axis. But that one only goes up to 5. So, okay. How do you do something like that for our current function? Well, I'll start with typing in y equals negative 4, and then a curly brace, because that curly brace is where I'm going to put the conditions for this function, so I can graph a piecewise function. And it's going to be x is less than negative 4. And close the parenthesis. So let me move this graph a little bit so I can actually see that. So there's the first part. The next part is going to graph y equals x for x between negative 4 and 4. So negative 4, and looking back at this, I need a less than or equal to x, and that's less than or equal to 4. Now there's two ways you can get that less than or equal to into your Desmos. One of them is with the keyboard. There's a less than or equal to right there. And let's see, I don't want that outside this. Let's get rid of that. Less than or equal to negative 4 is less than or equal to x. And then you could type the less than key followed by the equal to key, and it does just the same thing. Puts in that less than or equal to. So there's the next part of this. So, okay. Building kind of a stair, or maybe escalators. The last part is y equals, and this time, actually, y equals 4. Our restriction here is x is greater than 4. And that's kind of the last piece of this thing. So there's your piecewise function. It kind of forms a little zigzag pattern here. Nice. And it is a function because it passes what kind of test? Passes the vertical line test. Thank you, sir. So there it is. Now, if you want to be clever, there is a way to type this in so that it's all in one line. But I'm not trying to make you experts in Desmos. That's not your job. So if you want to play around with that and get used to that, you can do that. I've got some instructions here, but this works. This is what I do 90% of the time when I want a piecewise functions. I just define it in pieces. Now, how would that look on a graphing calculator? Well, let's see here. Let's clear this out. Now, the unfortunate part for you is you're probably going to be stuck using a graphing calculator in most of your remaining classes. I don't know how many of your other instructors are going to let you use Desmos, but here you go. So I've got three parts of this. I got -4, I've got x, and 4. And I'm just going to hit zoom standard for the moment and show you what I've got. So zoom 6, there's what the graph looks like. Except I need to throw out lots of parts of this stuff, right? I don't want, you know, a lot of this graph and a lot of this graph. So let's do that. Let's make this the piecewise function that it is. So start out with y1 equals -4. But we want to put in our restriction. Here's how you put in that restriction. You're going to put a divided by and then a left parenthesis, and let's see, the condition is that x has to be less than 4. So I'll type in an x. And here's why they pay me the big bucks, because I know where to press these keys right here. You're going to hit the second key and then the math key. That gives you access to all these different inequalities. And we want to choose number 5, less than. So I want x is less than -4. And watch what happens to this graph. It's no longer going to go all the way across my graph or across my window. It's going to stop right there. Beautiful. Now, we're going to do the same thing up here for the graph of y equals 4. I don't want the part to the left of this red line. I want it to the right of 4, not to the left of 4. So let's go back and try the same thing here. So we're going to do a division key. So divide by, left parentheses. This time I want x to be greater than 4. So once again, you're going to press the second key, then the math key. This time I'm going to choose the third option, greater than 4, like that, and then hit the graph key. Notice what it did. It chopped off all this other stuff here, right? The real pain about the graphing calculator comes with the middle one. I can't put a double inequality like I do with the other two, or like I did with Desmos. So let me clear this out here and show you what you got to do in the middle one. To clean up the middle one, again I'm going to divide, but you're going to need to hit 2 left parentheses. Hit 2 of them. The first one is that I want -4 to be less than or equal to x. So -4, and then the less than or equal to I'm going to find off the test menu. So second, and then math. The less than or equal to is the 6, and then x. So that's part of it. Again, you can't enter it as a double inequality like we did in Desmos. Desmos was wonderful. I could enter it just like that. Not so lucky with the graphing calculator here. The next part is that x also has to be less than 4. So I'll type in another parenthesis, x, and then back to the test mode, less than or equal to, which is your 6, and then a 4. And then 2 parentheses. So I'll leave it there for a moment. If you've got that copied, when you're ready, hit the graph key. You should get the graph that we got off of Desmos. Now, it's up to you which way you want to do this on the exam. If you want to use Desmos on the exam, download Desmos test mode to your phone, and then we can use that on the exam. All right. a little bit. Uh, a little bit I can help you out, but you know, come time for the exam, you should know most of it. If you have some errors or stuff like that, occasionally things pop up, you accidentally hit the wrong button, you'll get an error, then those are things I can help out with. Yeah. All right, so there's your graph. There's your piecewise function. Now, there's a couple more things I want to finish up here. Any comments or thoughts on this one? Which one do you guys want to use on the test, Desmos or your graphing calculator? I think I know your answer. Any preferences? I don't know. Calculator? All right, calculator. You're free to use whatever you want. Free to use whatever you want. One place where the calculator is going to struggle is in helping you determine whether or not something like x equals y to the fourth is a function. Now, somebody who already helped me out, I think Dylan, you helped me out with this kind of problem earlier when I said, is this a function? He said, yes, it passed the vertical line test. The problem with x equals y to the fourth is that your graphing calculator won't graph it. You have to have y equals something. So that makes it a lot more difficult. But the cool thing is that Desmos, you can plug it in. You don't have to have y solved for. So if I type in x equals y, and then I'll use this key here, raised to the fourth, bam, there's my graph. And it's just now a 2-second problem. Is this or is this not a function? No, because it fails the vertical line test. So cool, you're done. And we're done with a little bonus supplement here for section 2.2. Any other comments or questions on these things? Am I clear what I expect in terms of being able to graph a piecewise function and understanding the vertical line test? Doing okay over there?
If you wanted to do that on the graphing calculator and not Desmos, how would you do that?
Okay, so on a graphing calculator, if you insisted on doing a graphing calculator, you'd have to solve for y. So to solve for y, you'd have to take the fourth root on both sides, fourth root of y to the fourth. And because this is an even power, you'd have to take plus or minus on both sides, or plus or minus the fourth root. And then you could graph this. Now, one quick trick here, you could do y equals, say, x to the 1/4 power. That'd be your first graph. And then y equals negative x to the 1/4 power. That'd be your second graph. So you'd have to graph both of those. And you'd also have to remember to do the plus or minus when you're solving for there. Now, you only get the plus or minus if you had an even exponent here. If this was an odd exponent, if I had, say, x equal y to the 5th power, then I wouldn't have any problem. It would just be x to the 1/5 equals y. So, yeah, great question. Let me just, for sake of completeness, I'll throw that graph up here. So here, let's clear that out. So let's see. So I want the fourth root, so I'll type in a 4 here, and then let's think math. Then the 5th option down puts that 4 into the index of the radical, 4th root of x, and then I just type in the negative of the 4th root of x. So 5th option down, x, and let me adjust my window. Well, I don't think I need to go as far down as that, so negative 3 to 3. A lot of this graph is going to be wasted, but yeah. Wait a minute, something went wrong there. Delete. Oh, my negative got into the exponent. Delete. Yeah, I don't want the negative there. So I might need to put parentheses around this in order to get this to work out right. So parenthesis, and then put the negative out front, because I had the negative up in the exponent. Second insert negative. That should work. There you go. All right, so good question. All right. Again, not quite as easy as decimals, but definitely doable. All right, thanks so much.